Candace Owens is an idiot. I'm sorry. I don't typically like to, degrade myself to ad hominem attacks or anything like that, but there comes a time where it's just needed. It needs to be said. And Candace Owens is indeed an idiot. But she's a very smart idiot, okay? She's been very good at riding the conservative wave and, taking full advantage of sometimes just the naivete of the conservative cause, because they need their token black person to really push back against leftism, which I've always just never liked. I've never liked that. I wish we would just be authentic and real and let the truth have its day. And I know we say that all the time, but we often don't really mean it. Candace Owens is a great example of that, because according to the guys like Graham Allen and many others who are coming out and talking about Candace Owens and her history with the conservative cause, these red signs have been there from the beginning, and no one paid attention to it because we needed our token black chick. And Candace Owens knew that, and she that's where Candace Owens is a smart idiot, but she's an idiot nonetheless. She's an idiot for several reasons, and I'm going to talk about that. So I watched this YouTube video last night. I forget the name of this young lady. She's another black woman. And she talked about how she used to admire Candace Owens, and that she does this video with a heavy heart and things like that. For me, I personally, kudos to her, but personally, I never liked Candace. Even when she was popular in conservatism, I never liked her. It was just always something about her just rubbed me the wrong way. And for me, it's just her attitude. That's what rubbed me the wrong way. It always got me, just turned me off to Candace Owens. Because for me, I'm not interested in how well or I'm not interested in your arguments. I'm not interested in. I don't want to stick it to the liberals. I don't want to do any of that kind of stuff. I want to defeat liberalism. I want to delete liberalism. Yes, that's for sure. Defeat leftism and all that stuff. I absolutely want to destroy it and smash it into a million pieces like Moses did to the golden calf. I really would love to do that. All liberalism, just destroy it completely. It is the cancer of the world. It is the serpents appealing to Eve to be your own God, and it destroys all life. But anyways, but I don't care. Nevertheless, your attitude is also really important to me. And if you have a bad attitude, and if you're just kind of like, sticking it to them and with this attitude, I don't want to listen to you. I'm not interested. I'm interested in people who speak the truth in love, clarity, and calm, measuredness, control. That's what I'm interested in. And so Candace Owens has never displayed that to me, and I've just never, ever liked her. Ever. So when she says, this young lady says, it's with a heavy heart, I'm just kind of, in my mind, I'm thinking, would be a heavy heart to me. I got no problem calling Candace Owens out for the idiot that she is. Anyways, but in this video, this young lady is talking, she goes through an interview that Candace Owens did with Russell Brand, presumably several years ago. This is when Candace Owens was probably still, it seems like she was still this Trump supporter, because she joked about getting Russell Brand to have a MAGA hat, and to get a MAGA hat on his head. And, so she seemed to be a supporter of Trump back then. So this was years ago. And it was a fascinating interview, because in this interview, and this is why I say she's an idiot, Candace Owens, she talks about her family life growing up, and how she's got, her family is full of criminals and people who are in prison, incarcerated, and how it was like a normal thing. Boy, I should have brought my sunglasses. How it was a normal thing to just go visit, I think like her uncle or something like that in prison as a kid. It was just kind of, it was just normal. It was just what they did. And, that kind of stuff. And so so now Candace Owens has a documentary, a hit piece on Erica Kirk coming out. And in the I watched another video with this guy. He goes through some parts of it. I haven't finished it. I don't really want to be honest with you, because it's just horrible. But I'll finish it anyways. But he goes through one of the clips where Candace Owens uses I guess Erica's family history, like her grandmother, I think, being involved in gambling schemes and whatever. And this is supposed to be evidence that you can't trust Erica, that she's also involved in some way. Like, okay, so just to make sure we're clear, Candace Owens, her argument is parents, family members, bad, therefore Erica bad. And yet Candace Owens has self-admittedly affirmed that she also has bad actors in her own family. So what does that mean about Candace? Should we trust her? Like, the double standards are glaring, and I honestly don't think Candace Owens is aware of that, because she's just making this stuff up as she goes, because it's getting her money. It's making her money. That's why she's doing it. Like, and you guys who follow her, you're idiots for following her. You're dumb. And I really would like for you guys to stop being dumb. And she's playing you guys. And I just know some of the responses, like, well, you know, she's just bringing up some shit. Like, guys, stop this. I mean, stop it. It's just, you know, I mean, you're coping really bad. You're being caught in a blatant. Your girl is getting caught in a blatant double standard, and you're still just gonna go, bitch, she's asking a lot of these questions about. No, she's not. No, she's not. She is playing you. And I pray that you just come out of this cult of Candace, the cult of Candace. There's other things though. Like, Candace talks about in this interview. She talks about how, she describes herself as self-taught. And look, I get it. Like I'm self-taught. I never went to college. Everything I know, I've learned on my own. You know, public education is a sham. Candace is right about that. I think she actually believes that, but for different reasons than I would. But it's one thing to be self-taught, okay? But when you're being self-taught, it's kind of like sola scriptura. You know, scripture is the ultimate authority. But that doesn't mean that there are not other authorities that help you understand scripture that you should submit to and heed and learn from. Like, absolutely. For Candace, I get this feeling that when she talks about self-taught, it's sort of like she's not only learning information on her own, but she's learning how to think about it all on her own. And that is dangerous, because there's only one proper way to think about things. God made the world to function in one way, and you have to follow objective logic to reach those conclusions. And if you can be self-taught. Like, there's a lot of people who are self-taught and end up in like flat earthism, because they don't actually, they call themselves critical thinkers, but that's not because they're actually critically thinking about things. They're just being contrarian, and contrarianism is not automatically right. So I just get this feeling that that's what she's talking about when she says self-taught. She talks about her childhood, like she was always a critical thinker, and she would never just want to like do things that she was told to do. So apparently she talked about her teachers telling her to do things, and she would always just like, I could never just do things. Like, even more my teacher said until like why do I have to do that? Like, you need to tell me. And I'm just sitting there listening. I'm like, excuse me, who are you? You're a freaking 8-year-old girl or whatever. I'm the teacher. I told you to do that, and you do it because I'm the teacher. That's why you do it. Like, I'm telling you guys, if you listen to this interview of Candace, she does not sound like somebody who is confident, or who is just a good moral and different person in a good way. She is your typical stuck-up brat who thinks she knows better than everybody else and won't let anybody tell her what to do. That's what she sounds like. That's not somebody who is virtuous. That's not somebody you want to listen to. That is not that kind of person. And see, we looked past all that stuff at that time because Candace is on our side. You know, and people, guys, conservatives, we need to learn from this. We got to stop this just taking people in our group, our movements, just because they're our token black person or whatever. We got to stop doing this, guys. They need to be authentic and real, and they need to be vetted. You know, when I first was getting involved in ministry with some para-church groups, they immediately started asking me, was I part of a local church? Was I, this, that, and the other thing? They wanted to know that I was real. I wasn't some counterfeit, pretending to be, while, in actuality being a lone wolf Christian, that kind of stuff like that. They wanted to make sure that I wasn't doing any of that stuff. And we don't do that in a conservative cause. We're just like, yeah, just come on in. Yeah, we need that black person. Yeah. It's so just disgusting. I hate it. It's my problem with conservatives today. One of my problems. Anyways, now you combine a lot of this with Candace Owens and the fact that the last several weeks, at least, she's been outing. I don't watch Candace Owens on a regular basis, obviously, as you can tell. I just see these clips floating around on social media. These montages of Candace Owens just butchering normal words and then calling people racist for making fun of her for it. Like typical leftist playbook stuff. Look, guys, I gotta say this. I just gotta say this. And I don't normally try to pick on people for these petty little things. Normally it's kind of like, I know what you meant, I get it, kind of thing like that. But that's not the case with Candace. This is somebody who has sold you on the idea that she is smart, she's an intelligent black woman, a critical thinker, blah, 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 all that stuff like that. And yet, I see a clip of her in one of these montages misspelling the word blitzkrieg. Not misspelling, misspeaking. Like, just absolutely butchering the word. And that's important, guys. That is actually crucial. Because Candace Owens, again, she talks about how she's smart. She knows her history. And I've seen her talk about World War II and Hitler, the Nazis, and blah, 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 and over and over and over again. And yet she can't even pronounce the word blitzkrieg properly. Blitzkrieg. That is, look, guys, that's not pettiness. When you're claiming that you know these about these historical events, the word blitzkrieg is a very big word in the World War II history. It's a word that you should know. And she pronounces it like she's never heard the word before. That is not somebody who has actually spent any serious time studying World War II history. It's just not. That's somebody who is pretending. She probably saw a few little things here and there, and then just drew huge conclusions from that. And oftentimes they're probably really right. Candace Owens, like I'm in many ways like Candace Owens. We can oftentimes connect a lot of dots with just a little bit of information. I think that's what she often does. I think that's what Candace does. She just takes a little bit of information here, a little bit of information there, and then she connects dots. And oftentimes they're very well-connected dots. Some people just kind of have that ability to do that. I mean, I like to think that I have that ability. However, I've often found that gift sometimes errs. And so even when I make those logical connections, I will then fact check myself. All right, let's make sure I'm actually reading this correctly. Let's look into this. And it turns out many times I'm like, oh yeah, so I was pretty much right. I was off here a little bit, a little bit there, but for the most part, I got it right, so cool. And there you go. So, but like Candace, I don't think she even does that. I think Candace just freaking wings it, and she speaks with such confidence. Again, an idiot. Just speaks with that idiocy with confidence. And next thing you know, though, she starts saying blitzkrieg or whatever, a bunch of other stupid words that she just completely butchers. And there you go. So anyways, yeah, just something there, guys. I just felt the need to talk about that after I watched this last night. It was eye-opening. I'll just say that. And look, I think it's time, guys, we start asking questions about the questioners, and things like that. And let me just say this, by the way, for those who don't know, I've already made a video about Candace Owens and conspiracy theories. I think I did a pretty good job. No one really had anything substantial to argue against me in that video. My point was very clear, and I think it was a very good point. But I'll just say this as a reminder. I believe in conspiracies. I believe that there are legitimate conspiracies out there, and the Epstein files is one thing that's really big for me. Israel, I think Israel's got some sketchy history. I have questions about the October 7th attack. I'm just going to be honest. I have questions about that. I think there are some things about that whole thing that are weird. I'm not going to get into much of that today or in this video, but I do have questions. Charlie Kirk also seriously questioned a lot of that stuff, that there's something seriously going on there. And in the beginning, after Charlie Kirk was murdered, I was questioning whether Israel was involved. I really was. I was really willing to ask that question because it seemed really, really odd. I didn't know Charlie Kirk was asking so many of these questions right before he was murdered. But that doesn't automatically mean. This is why I made that video about Candace Owens conspiracy theories. This is why I made that video. Like, you can't just draw from that. Again, having that ability to make logical connections, going, oh, this, then that could be that. That is a potential logical connection, but there are gaps of information that you still need. You still need smoking guns, and you don't have that. There is none of that. It's not there. I don't know how else to tell a lot of you conspiracy Candace Owens nuts just more clearly. It's just not there. Oh, she's just asking questions. No, she's not. First of all, she's not asking questions. And secondly, the fact that so many of you are creating these conclusions about it is proof that it's just not about asking questions. You actually believe that Erica Kirk is involved in her husband's murder. You really believe it. Stop playing. Stop doing that stuff. Just be real. You believe this, and you have zero proof for it. None. There is none. Gosh, Erica Kirk's acting weird. That's not proof. That is not proof. That may be something you may call ancillary evidence to a smoking gun. You don't have that. Candace doesn't have that. If she had that, she'd be giving it to you right now. She's playing you guys. She really, really is. She is playing you guys. You're falling for it, hook, line, sinker. You're giving her money, and she's she guys in the trailer to her stupid little series. Erica Kirk and TPUSA making money off of Charlie Kirk's death and stuff like that. And yet Candace is doing the same thing. She's selling merch, to help her in her crusade to find Charlie Kirk's real killers and blah, 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 blah. You'd think they would have tried to kill her by now. She said her life was being threatened, and she goes to the zoo. That seems like something somebody does when their life is threatened. Yeah. And then she goes to this party for conservative influencers or something like that. That's not somebody who's fearing for their life. It's not it, guys. She's poison. She always has been, and we need to learn this lesson, guys. There's a lesson that has to be learned here. You can't just bring people into your movement. They need to be thoroughly vetted. Are you a Christian? Are you part of a local church? I am confident Candace Owens, even though she calls herself a Catholic, ain't going to mass on a regular basis. No way. There is no way any priest worth his salt is letting Candace Owens do this kind of stuff. No freaking way. Absolutely not. Just no way. So we need to actually, our people, Paul says to be above reproach. We have to be above reproach. Every single person who comes into this movement from now on has to be thoroughly vetted as somebody who's authentic, who's real, who has real convictions about this stuff. Conservatism right now, guys, is, we're talking about all this split in the conservative world. And I think the reason why it is the way it is, it's splitting like this, is because we don't vet. We're not actually crusading for the kingdom of God. It's just conservative values, whatever the heck that actually means. Like, what are we conserving? You know, that's the problem here, guys. It's not actually Christ-centered. It's political, ideological centered, whatever that might mean. Christ is not the center of this stuff. And if we make Christ the center, I wonder how much less of this kind of stuff, how much of this we can avoid. I think right now the conservative movement is paying the price. Is paying the price right now for just Christless conservatism. That's what I think. It's my views. So, that being said, I gotta go. Christ has to be the center, guys. He has to be everything. In everything you do. Every time you make a podcast or a YouTube video you're going to post up, you know, from now on, my stuff, even though much of the stuff I'm going to be doing in later is not necessarily seemingly going to be Christian, it is. It's leading up to something. So, and it's all about Christ and His glory. So, that being said, Solo Deo Gloria. God bless.